obviously had a good one on Saturday, about 2.5 hours long probably. One of our longer ones just seemed to go. But first day of pad, we had 2 shorts, or spiders, I guess, and then 2 pads days, Saturday pads, today pads. But I like where we are after 4. Kids are working hard, playing tough. I had too many penalties Saturday, then came out today and cleaned all that up. So, 4 days in, and then we go Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week. So, questions?
Last year was the first time in a long time you've had a quarterback competition to go through in the spring and summer. Were the lessons you learned from going through that last year that kind of impact how you approach it this year?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if we learned any lessons going through. There's competition at every position. I don't know if there's something that we should have learned. Let me know. Maybe I'll learn it now. But competition is competition. We got competition at every position. It's no different than the quarterback position that we have now. That room is loaded. We got some really good players in that room. Besides a Kenny Pickett type guy, that room is as deep as it's been. As far as just, when you walk out there and look at them, you're like, wow, that looks like a group of guys there. So, I don't know what we learned, but.
What's a room where you have really good competition? Where you're really happy with the depth of competition?
Depth and competition, those are two different things. I think the defensive ends. You look at Haba, who's here today. He's leaving, and Deslin, and that position's wide open. You're going to talk to Nakai Johnson today, who's really had 4 really good days. I'm assuming today was good. He's had 4 really good days. It's nice to see him step up. I think he had good bowl practices as well going to that UCLA game. So it's just he is started off spring ball where he left off. But I'd say that the end room. Daion's playing real well, but when you got Nakai and Sam and Bam Brema, all those guys, there's a battle going on there right now. Nate Temple, there's a battle going on there. Dorian Johnson moved over from D tackle to guard, so he's getting a ton of reps with the 2s today, and didn't get as many Saturday, but just develop. It's every spot. And I feel good with our depth everywhere. As far as we know, we're not shy anywhere as far as just not having enough guys to practice, which is good. We just got to stay healthy through spring.
How's Elliott look so
It
far?
looks good. Elliott's playing a little defensive end, a little D tackle. Again, just growing. I think some guys, they just want to automatically come in and be the guy, and it takes time. But he's developing, he's getting better, and Elliott's doing a nice job too.
This might be the second off season where you didn't lose any position coaches.
I know, huh?
How important is that to the overall program?
I know it's important for my sanity. I can tell you that. Having to go through that, do that, that's a job. It just adds to your job as a head coach. It's not easy as it is dealing with all the other things you have to do to go through. But when you don't have to hire a coach and you have that continuity, I think it's huge. I'm not coaching a coach. I'll say, for example, just watching the receivers in the second year and watching, the guys play hard and play with effort out there. There were some things I threw in the team meeting today just with the receiver play of how hard they're playing now compared to last year. Last year, Coach Woods figured it out, and the receivers have figured out what they're supposed to do. Now it's like, a well-oiled machine, I guess, after 2 years, and 3 years will be even better. So, continuity is always real important.
There was always a guy this time last year that you guys were excited to see him get more starting time.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got all that starting experience. What have you seen from him and his growth so far?
You see good stuff. I think we got after him as far as loafing the first 2 days. Just maybe he thinks he's the guy and got enough reps that I'm the guy, and he's really stepped it up the last 2 days. He came out with an attitude on Saturday, he had too many loafs. I think we had him for 5 loafs. Should have 0 loafs. You're supposed to be the leader. He's a football player, we know for sure, and he's better right now than he was certainly, at the end of the season last year.
Seems to be a pretty healthy mix of old guys coming in from last year versus new guys coming in new to the program this year. How have you noticed some of those older faces ushering in the new faces to get him going with this program in the spring?
I think we got a lot of good leaders on the team, and so the older guys are always going to take those young guys, whether it's mid-year guys, whether it's Donovan McMillan and Derek Davis and whoever they are, freshmen, Izzy Polk, but just bringing those guys, in and teaching them. So, the young guys have learned from the old guys, and that's kind of how we do things.
With the way the transfer portal works out, you talked about a couple of the transfers there. Is there more of a readiness within them, just stepping into spring ball, knowing they've done that whole thing before?
They're not rookies, so it's definitely they're ready. They are ready for a fresher start, and I'm sure they've learned from where they were and how they're going to start a new life here in Pitt. But we've been happy with those guys so far.
There was a lot of good things said about
Day Reynolds did a nice job too today. No, you're good.
There was a lot of good things said about Ryan Baer last season about his potential. How's he looking so far? He's a guard, right?
He looks good. I mean, you see him walk. He'll walk by you. He looks good. He's playing left tackle right now, but he can play. He can play right tackle, left tackle, guard. On either side, he can do anything. But no, he's looked well. I mean, after 4 days, we like where he is. He played for us a little bit last year, so we like where Ryan is.
Where are you putting Jacoby?
Jacoby's a guard as well, and some tight end, of course.
Jerry's earlier question: why is it you've been able to retain coaches? What allows you to?
I don't know. You get lucky. I think a year ago, after a championship season, Heather and the athletic department stepped up. The chancellor, Gallagher, stepped up, and I think we got them paid better than they were. And I think that helps a ton. I think when you're taking care of your staff and when you're doing something to keep them, I think that helps.
Ryan Gandy was a guy that you told us last summer camp that really impressed you guys as he was working. What have you seen him in sophomore start?
Ryland's started fast. I mean, he's a football player for sure. You watch him on special teams. We even watched tape from last year when he did run down. I think he ran down in the UCLA game as a gunner on the punt team. He's got a high motor. He plays hard. He's smart. That guy's going to be a really, really good football player here at Pitt. Really good.
From Rodney as he steps into this year as kind of the top back, more or less.
Yeah. Rodney. We know he's a good back a year ago. He's had a good camp so far, or spring camp so far. I mean, he's been good. I mean, he hadn't made any huge, gigantic splash plays yet, but we haven't had a scrimmage yet. So, but he's, from what Coach Powell says, just with his individual stuff, he's done all he's much better detail player right now. Just a year better. I mean, I think every year, you get amazed at how much, improvement guys are going to make, even when you're not even coaching. You're not even, on the field through the off season. And I had Coach Stack come talk to you on Monday just about what the training, how fast they get, how strong they get, how much more confident they get coming into this new spring. But all our young guys, just to keep growing, they're a year better. I mean, I look at Miles Austin; he's a much better player than he was a year ago. So some of these guys, they grow up really quick, and some grow up. It takes a little bit longer. So we expect a lot out of these guys, and sometimes, you're going to get it fast, and sometimes it's going to take a little longer.
I know last year there was a lot of talk about the strength numbers being up within, really across the board in this program. How would you assess how these players entered the spring drills knowing that, that standard needed to be kept up a little bit?
Yeah, I don't have all the numbers on that. We haven't done, we didn't do all that stuff. That'll be at the end of the summer program going into fall camp that will really put the numbers together. So we didn't do anything numbers-wise. I know they got a squat and a bench in. And I know they had some good days down there, but that's just the beginning. So we're not, it's just a small window. We'd rather take instead of these small little gains that we look at, we'd rather have a big, big number to work with and look at from where they came from January to August.
Who are the guys taking the most charge you've seen as far as like setting the example and being the louder voices to keep people going?
There's the guys that are going to talk a lot. There's going to be the guys that are doing it by example, and they shut their mouth and they just work hard. But there's a lot of them. I hear, and I'll tell you the guys I hear. Sometimes you don't see what's going on in the locker room, but I hear David Green a lot. I hear Marquez a lot. I hear Bub Means a lot leading. Matt Gonsalves leading. Phil Jakovic, I hear him a lot. Like he's not afraid to lead. He's not shy. And again, I see a lot of guys doing it by example.
Other than your two returning starters, what wide receivers have caught you?
Besides Bub and Kanate, has had a really, so is Bub. They've been really, they are better football players right now than they were at the end of the year. They've taken a step. Other guys, Jake McGonaghy's had a nice camp to walk on. That's made, matter of fact, he probably about as good a day as you can have as a receiver today. We'll look and see who he was going against. But he made some plays. He actually made a nice touchdown catch down in this corner here, from Christian. But he had a nice day. He's well. I mentioned Miles already. Day Reynolds has had a nice camp. He had a nice touchdown in this corner over here. So he'll red zone period down here at the end. Trying to think who else. Javante Royal's working at it. Trying to think. The young kids. Polk and Seymour are doing a nice job for two young kids coming in. 17 years old, whatever they are. You know, they've been good. So they all have made some improvement. We'll find out when the pads come on.
Those touchdowns, were they from Phil, Christian, or someone else?
A little bit of both. I mean, Christian, I know was the last. No, it was Nate Yarnell was the last one here. I think Reynolds was. Who was it? Christian, I believe.
The scrimmage is Saturday.
We will scrimmage at the stadium Saturday. Yep.
In